A lot of girls, I think, are more okay with going into the trades. Before it was more like, oh, girls don't go into that, right? Girls don't go into the trades. That's for guys. That's dirty. That's heavy, physical work. And I think a lot of girls have shown that they can do it themselves too. Actually, they're very good TIG welders. Females are more artistic. TIG welder is a very soft, more artistic kind of welding process. So a lot of girls go into do very well in that.
Hi, this is Lola Broenimann. I am a content creator for Manufacturing Runs the World, and this is going to be my first podcast. I am joined here with Karen Feliciano, the department head of METC. Today, we are going to be talking about her story. Thank you, Karen, for joining me. It's been great talking to you through the past month, getting to know what you do.
Well, thank you for having me. Like you said, my name is Karen Feliciano, and I am a welding instructor right now at one of the tech colleges over here in Wisconsin. I am originally from Puerto Rico, came to the United States when I was around 16, 17 years old, finished my high school here, and didn't know after high school what to do. So started working, needed something to make more money, and that's how I ended up at a college asking about an engineering program, actually. That was my first call. And then it would take too long, so I decided, they were like, how about welding? And I was like, show me what it is. And that's actually how I got into welding. Very unexpectedly and very perfect for me right now.
So was there anything that kind of, other than like you said, like money, finding a job right out of school, was there anything that you did beforehand that kind of inspired you to start doing stuff with welding? Although it was like brand new and just introduced to you, did it meet like the expectations you wanted to do in the real world?
Yeah, so I used to work for a company that I used to work in the floor, working with tools and doing like more like assembly line for a company that back then. They used to have welders, they have a lot of trade people. So that's how come I got interested in the trades. But I was more like towards engineering part of it, manufacturing engineering. But like I say, it was going to take longer process. So I decided to join the welding program, which was only a year back then.
And your welding department where you went to school, what school did you go to for that?
I went to WCTC back then, Waukesha. I took the 1-year program there, and then after the 1-year program, I started welding in the field right after graduation.
Yeah, so kind of an unexpected turn, but something that you enjoyed.
Yes.
Once you were out of college, I know that you went to straight onto like floors, working with welding. Could you give me a little context of what that looked like when you were doing that?
So I got my first welding job at a place where we used to build mining equipment. So big, huge company. It used to call Telsmith. They're not longer here in Wisconsin. But yeah, I used to work there. They hired me actually before I even finished school. So 2 weeks before graduation, they hired me. So once I graduated, I remember I graduated on a Saturday, and on a Monday I started working. So it was a quick turnaround for work. So I started there doing mining equipment, doing a lot of MIG welding, fabrication. Then in 2008, reception kind of hit, and I got laid off from that job, and I started working at a company called Lakeside, and I started doing a lot of TIG welding. And that is mainly what my background has been, a lot of TIG welding, fabrication.
What was the mindset going in that early to the workforce?
It was actually good not to take that little bit of a break, because I remember when I was in high school and I was graduating from high school, I was like, I'm going to take a little break before I go to college. And those little breaks ended up being, you never go to college, right? Or you take 2-3 years down the road, you'd be like, oh my God, that break was too long. So for me, it was great to just find a job right away, started working. Everything was fresh in my mind, everything that I acquired in school, and I was ready to hit the workforce really good. So yeah, it was great. I'm glad it happened that way.
Most manufacturers are sitting on better marketing than they realize. It's in their sales calls. It's in their production meetings. It's in the way their team solves problems every single day. But none of it gets captured. None of it gets distributed. None of it turns into visibility or pipeline. That's what we fix at Manufacturing Growth Systems. We help manufacturers turn the knowledge already inside their business into content, distribution, and sales. Because the world doesn't need more generic marketing. It needs to hear from the companies actually building things.
I was also wondering, being in the workforce, what is the ratio for women to
Wow, very low. Back then when I went to college, it was me and another female, 10, 15, 20 males, right? This is a very male dominated career or path, trades, if you want to call it. Back then, in the years that I've been in the field, I think I met one or probably two more welders, female welders. But now, as I've been teaching, now finishing my 11th year teaching, I have found that girls are more common what they were back then. Right now, if I got a class of 13 students, I can have 2, 3 girls. It's still low, but it's more than before. Yeah, so a lot of girls I think are more okay with going into the trades. Before it was more like, oh, girls don't go into that, right? Girls don't go into the trades. That's for guys. That's dirty. That's heavy, physical work. And I think a lot of girls have shown that they can do it themselves too. Actually, they're very good TIG welders. Females are more artistic. TIG welder is a very soft, more artistic kind of welding process. So a lot of girls go into do very well on that.
Could you explain, you said TIG welding?
In welding, there's 4 different processes of more common welding processes. There's the TIG welding, there's MIG welding, flux core, and stick welding. So the TIG welding is more of artistic. They're more looks, very small stuff. You can weld more different type of metals with it. So it's more of artistic. It's the most difficult process, I think, for everybody to learn. But females do really well because you got to be very patient. It seems like guys are more like, oh, let's do this let's go fast. Girls kind of slow down, and they do very well on it. Very well paid welding process also as well.
I just want to know, like, what mindset did you build for yourself? This is like the most important, like the one thing that I really want to know is the mindset you went into the workforce having and having to work harder than the average man who just...
I went into this with a mindset that I have to embrace challenges. Just being a female by himself is in a male-dominated field is a challenge. Embracing them, not avoiding changes, not avoiding the bad in this field, right? Especially for me as a female. Always being open to be a learner and open to learn more, and knowledge is the key for this, especially for females. The more you know, the more skills you have, the more respect you're gonna get out of your peers, out of your co-workers, out of somebody, whoever you're working with. Taking advantage of every opportunity. If it was an opportunity to learn something good, taking it. If it was an opportunity to growth, taking it. If there's an opportunity for a position, taking it. And that's how I became resilient. It was being in this field and saying, you know what, I gotta work harder. I gotta show off harder than any male because this is just what it is. But eventually I got to the point that now my skills and my knowledge and my years in this field and my name has grown into being like, you know what, I don't have to show my worth anymore, show that I know how to do this. My skills work, speaks for themselves now. So, but it took years. And I always tell females that, it's going to take you some time and you got to be very strong to be in this field, but it's a very rewarding field. It's nice to be a female in this kind of career or this kind of field because it's not too many of them. So you get recognized everywhere you go. It's like, hey, you Karen? I'm like, oh my God, I don't know who you are, but I'm sorry. It was like, no, I read your story, or I saw you at METC, or I saw you at Waukesha, or I heard about you. So it's nice because people remember you. It's not too many.
And you were recognized for an award as well.
That was last year, Instructor of the Year. That is, it was one of the proud moments. It's nice to be recognized. It's nice to be acknowledged for what you know, right? And I appreciate all of them, and I'm proud of all of my accomplishments, but that's not my main proudness. That's not what I'm proud of in my career.
What are you most proud of then?
As I became an instructor, everything became more how proud I am every time, or how fulfillment it is to see your students grow, to see your students be successful. To see your student, when you hear the story about your student, hey Karen, I got my first truck, or I bought my first house after welding, and just seeing them grow and seeing them be successful, I think that's one of the things that I'm most proud of. That's what I take my pride of, teaching and helping my students grow, change their life, because it's a life-changing for some of them.
And it was life-changing for you. Do you see welding as life-changing in your story as well?
My whole career has been a life-changing. I Like I say, I came from Puerto Rico when I was already, I was still young, but probably kind of old enough that English, was going to be a pretty hard thing to do for me. Because if you bring a kid over here, they kind of pick up on languages pretty quick. But for an adult, it was already kind of hard. So for me, it was a struggle when I got here. So I didn't know, like if you would have asked me back then, Karen, what you gonna do and who you gonna be when you grow, I would have no idea. Because I was in a new country, in a new place, a new language. So it was very tough. But once, I put it in my goal to be, to become somebody and do something for my life. And then I stumbled into welding. What I have done with it has been a life-changing for me, and it has been the best decision I ever made. I don't change every step that I have taken for nothing to be where I'm at today.
If you believe manufacturing deserves more attention, more respect, and a bigger voice, go to manufacturingruntheworld.com and join the community. That's what we're building here. A place for the people, companies, and stories behind the products, the machines, the parts, the processes that keep the world moving. Because manufacturing does run the world, but too often the people doing the work are invisible. So join the community, and at the very least, follow Manufacturing Runs the World wherever you're watching or listening. Help us amplify the industry that builds everything.
How did you feel getting that job offer? You were in the trades for, I think it was 2008 to 2015. Would you remind me?
Yes, I was in the field for about 6-7 years before I became an instructor. They offered me the instructor position a few times before I accepted it. A lot of people ask me, Karen, why you didn't take it earlier? And why did you wait, 2-3 years before you took it? For me was, to tell you the truth, I know welding and I have a knowledge of welding, but I was petrified of getting in front of a classroom and speaking, public speaking. I didn't think my English was good enough to be an instructor, so everything was like, that mindset of sometimes that you scare that if you are good enough, right? Yeah. Am I good enough to do this, right? Am I good enough? I always think about students are paying for an education, right? Mm-hmm. And like I did at one point, and I want 100% or more of that education, right? So I didn't want to shortchange nobody. I didn't want to be like, it took me a little bit. Eventually, my partner, my wife today, she's like, do it. And I'm like, I don't know. And she was like, do it. You can do it. The last time they offered it to me, I said, you know what? I'm going to try it. And I tried it, and it was the best decision I ever did. I didn't know that I can love a job as much as I love teaching.
Wow.
And it's like, I think it was my passion, it was my calling, and I didn't know that until I did it, until I'm in it, right? I love my job. I love teaching. I love showing people, sharing my knowledge. I tell people all the time, if you share your knowledge, what you know, you learning. It's crazy because as I show somebody how to do something, I always learn from it. I learn from my students. To this day, I've been doing this for so long, and sometimes a student comes by and I show them something and they say, oh, Karen, how about this? And I'm like, that's a good idea. Why not? Let's do that. So I love it. I love sharing what I know, and I love learning from others as I go.
Can you paint me a picture of like your first day? I'm guessing of course, first day jitters. You had to be told by your wife, you have to do this. You are good enough. You have proven yourself. What was the first day like?
I remember I got to the school, and when you become an instructor, nothing is set up for you, right? They give you the books the same day. I got books. And they say, here, Karen, these are your books. These are the classes you're going to teach. Go at it. You're not shadowing nobody. Nobody's with you in the classroom. And I didn't know it was like that. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be by myself in this room with a bunch of guys, with a bunch of students in the first day of class. So I remember opening the classroom, empty chairs. I remember taking a picture. I wanted to remember that day. I remember taking a picture with my phone of my empty classroom. It was 7 in the morning, a little bit earlier than 7. My class started at 7:30. As people started rolling in, I started greeting my students in the door. I remember greeting the students, saying good morning. My classroom started to fill in. And I was like, oh my God, now I'm panicking. Now I'm super nervous. I'm sure people can notice, students wouldn't be able to notice that I was nervous, right? 7:30 rolls in, all my students are in the classroom, they're all sitting down, they're all looking at me, staring at me like, Yes, we're here. They didn't know it was my first day. I learned as my years go by, I always wanted to be transparent and I always wanted to be honest with my students. One of the things, my main goal is to always get in front of my students and be honest because, not because I know welding and I have knowledge in this, means I know everything. And I always make that clear to my students. I remember getting in front of them and introducing myself. My name is in the board with all my information. And I say, today is my first day. And I can see some of the students that I kind of like open up and they were like, oh my God, like what, Today's my first day, I told them, and I say, you guys are going to be my first class, my first group. I know I have the knowledge in welding. I'm going to give you my 100% in that. But this is going to be also a time for me to learn this role with you guys. So you guys are going to be my first and my best group right now because I'm going to learn with you guys, at the same time. So that's how it started my day. At the end of the class day, it was a 5-hour class. He already was in the shop. Some of them came to me and they were like, if you wouldn't say that it was your first day, we wouldn't never notice.
Oh, wow.
That you are natural. Some of them were like, you're natural at this. You relate the information. You are very clear what you need to do. You are very clear what you expect, your expectation of the class. From that on, hearing that from students, especially on your first group or your first class, give you that little bit of like, okay, I got this, right? I got this. So that's how my first day went. And that was history. 11 years later, I'm still teaching. Got hundreds and hundreds of students already passed through my classroom.